Hi, my name is Sheldon. I live in Florida with my dad, my stepmom, and my two older stepsisters. It was one of those humid, suffocating summers, and I was around 13 or 14 years old. Our old house had gotten too cramped for our now bigger family, so we rented a 4-bedroom home on the edge of a quiet neighborhood. One of those places where the silence feels too thick. Everyone was excited to pick their rooms. I knew I'd end up with the smallest one, being the youngest, but my stepsisters needing more space for the girly stuff. I didn't really mind. Honestly, I preferred a quieter corner where my dog and I could just be left alone. The next day, I got my new room. It was on the first floor, the last one down the hallway. Small, sure, but cozy. One entire wall was covered by a large old wardrobe, an antique piece that must have been older than the house itself. It creaked every time I touched it. The smell of mothballs and dry wood hung in the air. As any curious kid would, I started checking every shelf, hoping to find something interesting. An old photo, maybe a hidden drawer. I opened every compartment within reach. Then, driven by instinct, I began climbing to reach the higher shelves, and that's when I heard it. A voice. Soft, whispery, cold. Don't touch my things. My heart froze. The voice was right behind me, but there was no one there. The room temperature dropped so suddenly. I could see my breath. My fingers slipped on the smooth wood. I fell backward, landing hard on the floor with a loud thud that echoed like a gunshot in the silence. I couldn't move. My eyes were locked on the wardrobe. Every instinct told me not to blink, not to look away. A second later, the door burst open. My dad came running in, my dog barking like mad behind him. Sheldon, please tell me that wasn't you who made that voice. But I couldn't answer. My mouth was dry. My eyes drifted back to the wardrobe. One of the doors was slowly swinging shut on its own. Dad, I was just checking the wardrobe, but there was someone. It was right behind me. It told me not to touch its things. I was still sitting on the floor. My dad helped me up, looked around the room once, then gave me a forced smile. Probably the old wood creaking. These old houses do that, you know. He didn't believe his own words. I could tell. That night, I didn't sleep well. My dog wouldn't even enter my room. He just sat at the doorway, whining, until I finally let him out. The silence in the room was too still. Too cold. From that night on, things changed. The warmth of the Florida summer never reached my room again. While the rest of the house remained humid and sticky, my room felt like a walk-in freezer. Dry, sharp air that clawed at your skin. The walls always felt damp, even when the sun was blazing outside. I tried not to think about the voice. I told myself it was my imagination. Maybe a memory from a movie I watched. Maybe the wind. Maybe I hit my head too hard. But then came the knocks. It started the following week, just after 2 a.m. 2 soft, slow knocks on my door. Knock, knock. I thought maybe it was my stepmom checking on me, or one of my sisters. But when I opened the door, no one was there. The hallway would be dark and empty, but that cold, it followed me. The knocks didn't stop. They came every few nights. Always at 2:07 a.m. Always 2 knocks, and always followed by silence that felt heavier than noise. One night, at dinner, I brought it up. Has anyone been knocking on my door at night? I asked, trying to sound casual. My sisters looked up from their phones.
Why would we do that?
said the older one with a smirk.
Trust me, we avoid your creepy room as much as we can.
My stepmom paused and looked at my dad.
It's an old house, sweetie. Probably the pipes. You know how sound carries weird in here.
Suddenly, my dog stood up from beside my chair and bared his teeth toward the stairs. My dad got up to check. I followed him, trying to calm Tyson down, but he looked angry, like someone was mocking him. Tyson's always been protective of me. When my father stepped forward, Tyson turned sharply and growled. Tyson, there's nothing. Calm down now. Then, without warning, photo frames started dropping from the walls, one after another, as if ripped down by invisible hands. Within seconds, every picture lay shattered on the floor. We were too shocked to say anything.
Everyone, go watch TV until the mess is cleaned up.
Without a word, we finished dinner and sat in front of the TV until bedtime. Not just knocks anymore. That night, the knocking came again. And this time, it was different. 2:07 a.m. Knock. Knock. I didn't open the door. I just sat in bed, holding the blanket to my chest, watching the handle, praying it wouldn't move. Then the voice came again. Good night, Sheldon. This time, the whisper was soft, but full of something sinister. Something wrong. It sounded like it was trying to mimic my stepmom, but couldn't quite get the warmth right. Like someone who'd heard her say it once, but was trying to copy it. I didn't respond. I just sat there, still, while my door slowly creaked open on its own. The hallway was dark. Nothing stood there. But I swear, I saw something retreat into the shadows. A shape, a man's figure, tall, stiff, and staring straight at me before slipping out of sight. The next morning, I asked my dad, "Hey, did anyone ever die in the house?" He didn't answer right away. People die in homes all the time. Old places have old history. He brushed it off, but I could see it in his face. He knew something. That night, I slept in the living room. My dog curled up next to me, like he was guarding me from something. And at exactly 2:07 a.m., from down the hall, I heard it again. Knock, knock. Then, good night, Sheldon. Next morning, I decided to talk to the only person who might know something. My oldest stepsister, Mallory. Have you ever heard knocking at night? She froze. Slowly, she set her spoon down and looked at me.
What kind of knocking?
Like 2 knocks, around 2 a.m., every few nights, and a voice, a man's voice. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she looked over at my dad, who was busy talking to my stepmom in the kitchen. Finally, she leaned in.
You heard him too, didn't you?
My heart nearly stopped. Wait, what do you mean 2? Mallory's voice dropped to a whisper.
When we first moved in, before you got that room, I was going to take it. I wanted to be away from everyone. But the first night I tried sleeping in there, something whispered to me from the wardrobe. And it wasn't just whispers. It said my name.
Why didn't you tell anyone? She looked at me like I was the dumb one.
You think Dad would believe me? Mom just told him to switch rooms. Said I was being dramatic.
So that was it. The room no one wanted. The room they quietly handed off to the youngest. Me. A few days later, I was helping my stepmom clean out the attic. Boxes of old junk from the previous owners were still up there. Forgotten furniture, yellow paperbacks, Christmas decorations, and dozens of dusty photo albums. As I flipped through one of them, a photo slipped out. It wasn't like the others. This one was black and white, slightly torn at the edges. A teenage boy stood in the hallway, our hallway, right outside the door to what had been my room. He had dark hair and a blank expression, like the kind you see in old mourning portraits. On the back, written in faded pen, Mark, 1978, 14th birthday. And beneath that, in a different, shakier handwriting, she won't let me sleep anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. Even with the door to the haunted room shut tight and a blanket over my head, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was standing just outside the bedroom door, watching. I got up to get a glass of water. On my way back from the kitchen, I passed the hallway mirror. The old, decorative one my stepmom insisted on hanging. And that's when I saw it. Behind me, in the reflection, just past the hallway light, a tall, pale figure of a girl. She wasn't there when I turned around, but in the mirror, she was. Her head tilted slightly, her mouth opened wide, like she was about to scream, but no sound came out. Just that same blank, dead expression. Then, knock, knock. 2 slow knocks from the mirror itself. I ran. She wants in. The next day, Mallory pulled me aside. She held up a dusty old Bible. At first, I didn't think much of it until she opened it. Inside were old yellow papers, drawings, Mark's drawings. They were disturbing. Charcoal sketches of his room, the wardrobe, a faceless woman with outstretched hands. At the bottom of every page, scrawled in shaking handwriting, were the same 4 words. She wants in. One page, written in red ink, read, "Don't let her say your name. If she says it 3 times, she can come in." That night, I begged to sleep in the living room again. But my stepmom insisted it was probably mold causing the cold and told me to stop scaring myself with ghost stories. So I lay in bed, wide awake, the blanket pulled up to my chin, my heart pounding. 2:07 a.m. Knock. Knock. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just squeezed my eyes shut. And then, I heard it. A voice like a broken record played backward. Hoarse. Mocking. Just outside the door. The second time, I clenched my fists, bit my tongue to keep from crying. Silence. A full minute of nothing. And then, the third time. My door creaked open. She's in now. I don't remember screaming, or running, or how I got out of bed. I just remember standing in the hallway, gasping, heart racing. Slowly, I turned back toward my room. The lights flickered, and inside, barely visible in the dim light, she was standing by the wardrobe. Margaret. Her eyes no longer hidden, her mouth twisted into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her skin pale, too pale, stretched too tightly across her face, like she'd been underground too long. And I knew then, she wasn't just in the room, she was in the house now. The end. For now. Now, I sit on the living room sofa. Mallory won't talk about it. My dad pretends everything is fine. My dog hasn't barked once since that night. He just sits, staring. And in the mirror behind me, I see them both. Mark and Margaret, watching.
waiting.